A reading from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2, verses 1 to 7. In those days a decree went out from Emperor Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. All went to their own towns to be registered. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David, called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged, and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in bands of cloth, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. In the bleak midwinter. When Christina Rossetti wrote the first line of her poem that has now become a beautiful carol, she was referring to the weather, I think. This year, as I hear those well-remembered words, they speak to me of this bleak midwinter. I do hope we shall each have memories of this year that are joyful and good, moments of laughter and coming together that we can cherish when we feel the emotional bleakness that most of us carry in these shortest, darkest days of the year. My sister Sue texted to say that because of Tier 4, she lives in Kent, she had just had a call from our mum's care home to say that the visit to see mum properly for the first time in months had been cancelled. Sue spelt Tier, not T-I-E-R, but T-E-A-R. And knowing how her big sister would notice that immediately, she straight away said, "I haven't spelt it wrong. I feel that is a much more appropriate spelling." I agree with Sue, and said I would pass on that idea. It helps me, for although my head might know the implications of the tiers, especially Tier 4, my heart just doesn't want to cope with understanding everything right now. My heart will come to terms with what my head already accepts, but it will take a while. The joining together is helped when I remember that there are still happy memories to be made, even if they must be formed by the delight of a phone call, the sharing of news in a Christmas card, or by any of the wondrous new technologies. My heart has also been stirred to cry out for things that it is harder to push gently away for a short while. For although we are all experiencing the pandemic, I can't forget that amongst so much that is good, there are always hard times in our lives, and these are still present now. We each experience grief. The experience is always very personal, and the pain is not diluted or dulled in this time of pandemic. God understands this. It's why I'm speaking today. I look forward to a time of quietness together, when we shall hear again of the coming of the Christ child, for that calms me and shows me once again the hope he brings. Celebrating his coming this year speaks to me in new ways too, when so many plans have been changed and families have been parted. Emmanuel, God with us, came to us in a time of great uncertainty, when families were forced apart and a young woman had to give birth a long way from home without the love and support of family and friends. I think that perhaps after all, Christina Rossetti might have been thinking of the bleakness of the world as Christ was born, as well as the weather of midwinter when she wrote her poem. God lived, breathed, experienced, and felt all that we do. He chose to live among us, to bring us back to him. There's a prayer from the Iona community, a dispersed Christian ecumenical community working for peace and social justice, rebuilding of community, and the renewal of worship, that I would like to pray now. I find this prayer a comfort. I hope you do too. Holy God of Advent, you became weak so we would find strength in moments of heartbreak. You left the safety of heaven to wander the wilderness of the world. Holding our hands when we feel hopeless, you set aside your glory to hold our pain so we might be healed. Even when there seems to be no hope, you became one of us so we would never be alone in any moment, in any circumstance. So come now, child of Bethlehem, to strengthen us in these days. May we feel your presence in a way we have never known, not just as one born in a stable long ago and far away, but as the one born in our hearts. You have promised to go before us, into our brokenness, into hospital rooms, into empty houses, into graveyards, into our future held by God. And you are here even now, waiting for each of us, to serve us, to hold us, to comfort us, to heal us, to live in us, now and forever. Amen.